Welcome back to the Manc Entrepreneur YouTube channel, and in today's episode I'm talking with you about something which I am really not authorised to talk with you about, but it's about universal basic income. Now, like I briefly said, I am no economist, I'm not an expert in the impact of bringing in a universal basic income, but it's a topic which has got a lot of attention over the last few weeks and months, and one that I really want to try and start a discussion about, because like I said, I've done some reading in order to speak to you today about in this episode, but I'd love to get your thoughts as well. Would you think it's a good idea? Do you think it's a bad idea? Why? And all the rest of it. Now, for anyone who doesn't actually know what UBI or Universal Basic Income means, it is the concept that the government will pay its residents, all of them, a basic income every month in order to they can pay their necessities such as food and bills and water and all the rest of it. And this would be in replacement of the benefits system, which we certainly have here in the UK and in many other countries as well. The concept seems to be that if everyone is treated the same and given the same universal basic income, it will have different impacts on employment and give basically people more freedom in order to pursue different things. Now, it appears that there doesn't seem to be many people who are sort of in the middle of it, a bit like myself. People either seem to be all for it or all against it. The arguments for it largely seem to be that the benefit system that we currently have isn't working to the best of its ability, and it's failing certain members of society. And instead, that money that is spent on the various benefits systems, which some would argue are being exploited, by just giving everybody a blanket universal income, that would get rid of that issue and instead then allow people to have a little bit more freedom in terms of choosing to work if they wanted to work, maybe working more part-time jobs, pursuing more entrepreneurial activities, and ultimately giving people a little bit more choice rather than getting stuck in a job and having to do it not because they want to but because they have to in order to get by. Now, across the world there has been certain pilot attempts, and by pilot I mean like attempts at trying to test whether this is a viable system or not. They've done it in Finland and Namibia and a small town in Canada, I believe. Is that whilst they are doing the pilots to the best of their ability, they can't fully recreate the impact that this universal basic income would have. Now, like I said just a minute ago, Finland has been one of the places which has been piloting the universal basic income, and the biggest union in Finland has come out in February and said that it is a useless idea. Now, in Finland, they were doing it with they were obviously doing €560, which is around £477 per month, and they were saying that through the tests that they've been, the test results that they've seen, it hasn't had the desired effect which they thought it would have done, and instead of ditching the sort of welfare system, they should try and fix it. That would be a better use of time and money rather than introducing universal basic income. Now, that's all well and good, and that is using today's society as the basis, which again is all we can really do. However, Elon Musk, who should really need no introduction, the man is incredible. He has come out in I think it was last November and again earlier this year, and publicly stated that he believes universal basic income is the way forward, and not necessarily that it's what he wants, but instead it is what the world will need in the near future. And his argument for that was quite simple. He had stated that the reports out there show that by the year 2030, that up to 50% of current jobs that are out there will be automated by machines or robots or software. And whilst that is a great thing in terms of, because all of a sudden these things that the robots and machines and software are producing will mean that ultimately they're much cheaper to produce, it will bring the cost of goods and services down. Ultimately, it's getting rid of a lot of jobs, which is going to leave a lot of people without paid work, which is what he sees is the replacement of, in universal basic income. People are going to need that in order to support them, because machines and software and computers and robots are taking jobs. And whilst that's not meant to be fear-mongering in a way, it's just a sort of evolution. We are replacing ourselves with machines and tools and robots and computers who don't need maternity pay, don't need sick days off, don't have rights and all the rest of it. For employers, hiring a machine or building a machine is a much more attractive solution than people. People are weak and sort of have a lot of vulnerabilities, whereas machines don't. So Elon Musk is coming out saying he thinks it will be a necessity in the future, which I sort of have to agree with him, because in a video I did a few weeks ago, I talked about how schools are letting down entrepreneurs, and you can see the video up here. And I talk about how schools right now are not preparing children for the future. They're teaching them how to do these jobs, which by Elon Musk's reckoning, in the next 13 years will largely be replaced by robots and machines. And then what are they going to do then? You're not teaching the kids to build the software and robots and the languages that it takes to run them. You're teaching them to do jobs which are going to be replaced by robots, machines, and all the rest of it. And that's what makes it interesting to me as a concept, because I totally agree with what Elon Musk is saying. I said it in the video up there, is that in the future, the jobs which we are currently preparing children for are not going to be the same jobs which are going to be available then. You're going to need more people to be able to code and write computer languages. And I wouldn't surprise me if the likes of JavaScript, HTML were the second most spoken language in the world over Chinese, Spanish and English. The problem that I see with universal basic income, though, comes in a more social aspect. Because if you take away the need for someone to work, what is the meaning of their life? And that sounds dramatic, and it doesn't mean to come across that way, but it is entirely true. I got some stats together before hitting the record button, and in an article written from 2014, they'd done a survey and found that between 30 and 40% of new retirees suffered from depression and suicidal thoughts. Ultimately, the conclusion being that their worth, that their purpose had been taken away. They'd spent all their lives working, creating value and giving, having a purpose in life, in work, to create something. And as soon as that had taken away and they'd retired, what was their purpose anymore? They didn't know what it was they were supposed to be doing. And ultimately, whilst you could say to loads of people today, oh, you don't have to go to work anymore. We'll still pay you a basic wage, but you don't have to come to work anymore. You can do what you want. What would those people do? Is there a worry that if you take away people's self-worth, you take away their point in life? What else are they going to do? There's only so much golf you can play. And that is the discussion which I find really curious, because for me, I'm not worried about that. Like, I'm doing what I do. I'm running an online business. I'm utilizing software and computers and machines in order to run a business, and soon to be several businesses. I will continue to do what I do right now, I'm sure, in the next 10, 20 years, if I'm lucky enough to be around. So whilst UBI, I don't see it really affecting myself, I think it offers a great opportunity for entrepreneurial people who didn't quite make it out to actually have the stability to try and get out there. But for the people who aren't, I do worry that it isn't giving them a purpose in order to fulfill in their life. You think back to any time point in history, as a human race, we've always had a purpose. It's either been survival or it's been abundance. We've always wanted to, in order to survive, we've had to work, or we've always wanted to work in order to have more than what we've got. Universal basic income could change everything, and this, for the first time in history, could be a point where humans don't really have a purpose anymore. I'd love to know what you think about this subject. Any links which I found particularly interesting on the topic I've used, I'll put in the description. Check them out. But I'd love to know in the comment section what you think. Do you agree with universal basic income? Do you think it's a bad idea and we should just stick with the welfare system that we've got? Do you think it will become a necessity in the not so near future? And with that, how do we as a human race evolve to cope with having that idea of self-worth taken away? Let me know down below. Like I said, I am really curious about this one. It's a bit of a heavy topic for a Friday, but one which I hopefully will garner a bit of discussion. With that said, enjoy the rest of your Friday. If you've enjoyed this video, hit the like button and subscribe if you are new. There's new content every single weekday. And with that said, have a great weekend. I'll catch you on Monday. Thank you for watching.